Hey, how you doing? It's Jim. I have absolutely no idea what day it is. It's the day. It's not evening, that's for sure. But that's kind of all I know. I think it's it's Monday. How would I know that? I have no idea how I'd know that because every day is the same. Hey. So how you all doing? You bearing up? Lots of music to listen to. Keep your spirits high, and just, I guess, I know it's shit and it's hard being stuck at home, but that's kind of all you have to do, and it's genuinely not that much of a hardship, really, is it? So, apart from if you've got a toddler in the house and you can't get out, and that is, but. At the minute, I have got some time to listen to some music, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to listen to a band called Ihlo, as Ihlo, a British band. They had their first release, or only release, I guess, last year, which was in May 2019 on the record label 20's Plenty. I don't think they're a very well-known band, but I've heard a couple of bits of theirs, and they sound pretty good. I've had a single recommendation, I think, on the channel from Murta Gev to listen to them. He suggested a track called Hollow, which I have actually listened to. So this is going to be a different one. This is called Starseeker. So let's get this ready to go. Let's do this. I'll see you guys on the other side. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah. Very good.
Today I have seen the endless reach of the mirror. Hunted for all of my life. I should have stayed away from you. Inside, questioning that day. I couldn't bring myself to go.
Oh, I like that.
It's too late to take back what's been said. I guess we'll have to start again. I caught the moonlight that was falling from your eyes. The color fades away, showing me the stories that you hide. Starseeker.
It's got a real sort of leprous and Caligula's horse sort of vibe. Really good.
After all we've seen, I feel it's for the best.
Tesseract as well.
Count the scars on me. Seems there's not a simple way to rest. Sky hunter, it's over. The words escape me, just how broken I can feel.
Enjoying this so far? I am. There we go. Starseeker from Ihlo. It's good music. It's good music. I have a not problem. It's a bit unfair, but there's a lot of this music that I've been listening to that's been recommended to me. So as I said, Caligula's Horse or Leprous, for example, Tesseract. You could potentially sort of shuffle the songs around on the albums between the different artists, and you kind of wouldn't actually realise it was by somebody else. And by that I mean is that they don't all quite sound the same, but it sounds very, very, very similar. And I find it difficult to find something specific in one of these bands' repertoire that stands them out from their contemporaries, which is kind of why you get sort of some of these incredible, amazing bands which are sort of head and shoulders above everybody else because they are distinguishable, because they have a USP, their unique selling point. They have something which makes them stand out. They have some piece of talent or something that does something amazing. So there we go. Now, I'm not really sort of putting that across as a complaint as such, especially like as with a band like this, being their first album, their first release, because they are still obviously on a journey to discover who they are and what their sound is and things like that. But it does get a bit samey if every band operating within a specific genre starts to sound the same, and they do a bit, So, but as I say, bands have got to have time to evolve and to grow and to sort of find their own sound, which I'm certain these guys will. Ihlo. I think it's a strong release. It's a good album. If a little bit generic, to sort of put it one way. And it sounds awful because I'm not a critical person. I don't want to criticise, but I'm a little bit. So, but well worth listening to and getting hold of and following this band, I reckon, because I'm sure they'll sort of they'll go on to do good things, or they are doing good things. Continue to do good things, I should say. Yes. So, how are we all doing out there in coronavirus land, world? It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. It's very strange. It makes you, I don't know, makes me sort of reflect a little bit on life and existence and your place in the world. And it's really odd to think that every person you've ever known and had any dealings with, presuming they're still around, are in exactly the same position and situation as you are. Everyone's facing the same level of anxiety and fear and facing the unknown. It's very, very, very peculiar. And depending on where you are in the world, there may be different levels of how much your life has been restricted. But here in the UK, within the lockdown, we're 1 week in, potentially of 6 months, so 25 weeks to go, which is a hell of a long time. And sort of literally entire families have been sort of not ripped apart, have been sort of kept apart. And that's especially hard for example, in our situation, my mum's in her 70s. She lives 80 miles away from where I am. I see her sort of fairly often and talk to her quite. I'm still talking to her loads, obviously, at the minute, but she's going to find this really difficult over an extended period of time, just to be by herself without any of her family around. And she has obviously friends in the village where she is, but at the same time, nobody's meant to be mixing together. And as a species, we are sociable. We want to be with other people, to talk to other people, to understand and sort of be part of each other's lives to some extent or another. And to have that one fundamental part of who you are taken away is a difficult thing for us to sort of get our heads around. I mean, I know absolutely obviously it's been done for the best reasons and God forbid that I'm complaining about it, because I'm not, because we need to survive, we need to live, we need to reduce to the absolute minimum the casualties that are going to be from this awful, horrible diseases that's going around. But it does make you perhaps appreciate more the liberty that we have. It's also a mark of privilege. If you are in lockdown and you're able to observe lockdown, you are privileged, and that's a funny thing to say, but and I've read this somewhere, I think in a newspaper or online in the last day or so, that if you are living in poverty, you cannot abide by lockdown. You cannot. You have to go out and find food. You have to be able to work, or to whatever means it is to have lockdown. Everybody who is in lockdown is in the privileged position of being able to be in lockdown to some extent or another. And the people who are least able to observe the lockdown or be controlled by lockdown are the ones who are probably least to blame for the spread of the illness. But it just seems that as the world has become smaller and the affluent in the world, which is a large proportion of the population. That's not easy to say. We travel beyond our immediate neighbourhoods, our immediate towns, our immediate regions, and ultimately countries. So sitting on planes or trains and travelling all over the world, we are, by very definition, a mass transit route for spreading the virus. People who are not affluent, who are very, very poor, living in poverty, are not travelling, but they are the ones who are going to be affected by this more so than everybody else, because they cannot then self-isolate, be locked down. So it is a very, very unequal, cruel, horrible world that we're in. And however bad this feels for you at the minute, there are people in a lot worse position. And it's I sometimes have to sort of be mindful of that actually this is no real hardship that I find myself in. It's just different, and it takes some getting used to. And we'll get through it, and then we will come through the other side, hopefully. Anyway, that's enough for me to be getting on with for now, and I hope I haven't bored you. I have many thoughts on these subjects, so as I sit down behind the camera here, every so often I may sort of talk a bit more about it. So I think we've got a lot more of this to come. As I say, probably another 6 months or so. So more rambling to come from me, and a lot of music to listen to and discover in the meantime. I hope you enjoyed that. And as I say, that was Starseeker by the band Ihlo from their album Union. Go and listen to it. Go and seek them out and follow the band, because I think they're going to continue to do good things as time goes on. Anyway, that's enough from me. I'll see you guys on the next video, whenever and whatever that is. And until then, this is Jim over, and